Thank you very much, Troy. I'm Tom Carroux, Intertrust Technologies. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley. I'll be talking to you about digital rights management, enhanced content protection, and watermarking. Intertrust is known as the founder of digital rights management, developing concepts and technologies back in the 1990s to address changes in computing technology that were subsequently licensed to Microsoft, Google, Apple, Adobe, and other companies. We're a leader in security, privacy, and trust for open networks and service-enabled devices. Inventions include trusted distributed computing, digital rights management, and secure interoperability. Intertrust is more than 250 people. We are distributed globally. We have scientists and researchers, including a Turing Prize recipient. Our markets are media, energy, Internet of Things, auto, data, healthcare, and more. I'll be talking about monetizing media. When we go back in time to the early days of the Internet was originally designed for military and government communication, not for consumer devices. And the security model back in the day was shoot the bad guys when they came close to, at that time, mainframe computers, which were in laboratories with restricted access. The bad guys were assumed to be on the outside of the network, and the good guys on the inside, defend the wall. As mainframes became mini computers, which became ubiquitous computing used by millions of consumers, and devices became service-enabled, trust and security became necessary for scale, not just for consumers, but also for services. DRM answers the question, can I trust you with my content? At a fundamental level, DRM enables interoperability and trust by providing security, and it should be invisible to consumers. So I'm going to now talk about Intertrust's multi-DRM license service called ExpressPlay. Intertrust has long worked closely with the major Hollywood motion picture studios, from understanding their evolving requirements to protecting movies streamed online, as for example in China by distributors such as Alibaba and iQIYI. We have also been involved with national initiatives like the UView in the UK, TiVo in Italy, and HBB TV. And customers include British Telecom, Channel 4, TalkTalk in the UK, and the iFlix streaming service in Asia with 15 million online subscribers. But why deploy DRM at all? In other words, what value does it bring? Why not just use AES? All DRMs use AES encryption as the algorithm for encrypting content. AES is cryptographically secure. However, AES encryption is of no value if an unauthorized user has access to the key used to decrypt content. AES has to be supported by a secure key exchange protocol. And secure key exchanges use authentication tokens and signed URLs to obfuscate the source from where the key is delivered. But once an authorized user has that key, there is nothing stopping them from sharing that key with non-authorized users. So DRM provides an extra layer of security. A DRM license contains rules and an encrypted content key. The content key is used to decrypt the content for playback. The DRM license and encrypted content can be freely shared without additional protection. Content can only be played on authorized devices according to the terms specified in the DRM license. So ExpressPlay DRM supports all of the major DRMs, Google Widevine, Apple FairPlay, Microsoft PlayReady, Marlin, and Adobe Primetime. We use a universal token to enable runtime selection of the DRM system. For example, you can use FairPlay for iOS devices, Widevine for Android devices, and the value of that is it leverages the hardware and the software security built into the devices by the manufacturer. So you can drop in a FairPlay key into a hardware security enclave in the iOS phone, which is not available to other DRMs. A real-time audit log of license acquisition events is generated, which is important if you're a video platform and you have a number of individual customers who use DRM, because you want to have an ability to charge back the cost of providing DRM. ExpressPlay also provides, free of charge, a key management system for the secure online storage of content keys. You can host them yourself, but we can do that for you in the cloud. I'm going to just show you how DRM works from an architectural level. And step number one, let me just go to the diagram here. So we're going step number 1, 2, 3, and we'll go forward. Step number 1, the content keys and the key IDs are packaged with the content stored and the metadata transferred to the service provider. And step number 2, and this is where the whole process really starts, a consumer selects content and makes a request to the service provider. So you have a device here and it is making a request. You have an electronic program guide, you choose a title, and you want to have the content title streamed to your device. The content license parameters are defined by the service provider and or content owner and are passed to the ExpressPlay service via a REST API. ExpressPlay, which consists of these parts here, from the key management service, token service, and the multi-DRM service, returns a token back to the service provider. The token is passed to the application in the consumer device. The token is passed into the DRM API for further processing. Then the DRM engine selects and retrieves a DRM specific content license based on the token, and a playback of the content starts. So it took me a hell of a lot longer to describe the process, which actually takes milliseconds. But I thought it'd be valuable to show how ExpressPlay works, which is a little bit different from other DRM services. We're hosted on AWS throughout the world except for China, where we're hosted by Ali Cloud. AWS offers active-active failover between AWS regions. There are multiple availability zones within each region with automatic failover. ExpressPlay has been tested to provide tens of thousands of DRM licenses per transaction, tens of thousands of DRM licenses per transaction. That's huge scale, which is important if you have a major sports event when millions of viewers tune in at approximately the same time. Last year, we served billions of DRM licenses. So what's the rationale for multiple DRMs? Typically, each device supports one or a limited number of DRMs. If you want maximum device reach, you need to use multiple DRMs. For example, if you go here, iOS devices, they work with Apple FairPlay and no other, although with our ExpressPlay binary SDK, you can also use Marlin. If you look at Android, they work with Google Widevine, but not with FairPlay, and then there are certain versions of Android 4.0 to 4.3 that have been deprecated, that Widevine licenses won't work, but if you have an ExpressPlay binary SDK, we can serve out a Marlin license, and the consumer won't be frustrated by not being able to see the video. But in general, if you want device reach, you need to use multiple DRMs so that they, regardless of what device a consumer has, they can watch video and it can be securely transported to them. I'll talk a little bit about enhanced content protection. ExpressPlay offers a porting kit that enables chipset manufacturers to meet Movie Lab's specifications for enhanced content protection requirement using Marlin. So a device that has undergone enhanced content protection self-certifications handles content protection logic, content keys, licenses, content display, and output with the rules that have been specified by Movie Labs. So when a device has selected content, it's usually UHD or HDR content, that requires enhanced content protection from a service provider, a content license is created that includes an obligation that the content be handled at this new security class level 4. And devices that are not licensed products will not recognize the ECP security class level 4 and therefore refuse to play the associated content. These are the logos of some of the chipset manufacturers that we've integrated either into their trusted execution environment or hardware root of trust so that it's ready to go, and the list is increasing. So the ExpressPlay porting kit, if you're familiar with enhanced content protection, there's a number of requirements, and the porting kit is really designed to be compatible with global platforms, trusted execution environment, All the license evaluation and key handling is done in a trusted execution environment. Chipset key ladders can also be used to do the decryption with a DRM license or conditional access. And we do the enforcement of HDCP 2.2 output controls. We look for things like root detection. We provide a secure video path to display, secure storage, and a secure clock. And so you've got the application layer here, the ExpressPlay client API, and then we build this into the embedded device, that functionality. I'm going to turn to watermarking and tie it to DRM. The current use cases are major sporting events, as well as early window movies, and some movies that are streamed in certain territories that are deemed high risk by the studios. According to ABI research, millions of consumers around the world watch illegal content, 15% in Latin America, 14% in Asia Pacific, 9% in North America, where people have money and relatively easy access to content, 7% Europe and the Middle East. 73% of the illegally viewed content originates from streaming sites, only 17% from torrent sites, according to Musa research. And they either stream the content over the internet for free, or they watch content from an illegal service that they pay for. In this premiere of season 8 of Game of Thrones, which was awesome, really great show, they had almost 55 million illegal views, again, primarily sourced from streaming. HBO had, by comparison, 17.4 paying subscribers. And the most illegal views were in some far-off territories like India and China. They might not want to wait for the content to arrive, but the United States had 4 million illegal views. ABI research brought this to a macro level. These are the numbers. They said if we can convert 1 in 4 illegal viewers to a paying customer, globally the industry could generate another $7 billion in revenue, with the lion's share, or $2.6 billion, in the United States, our own country. So how is illegal redistribution done? Well, typically you subscribe to a video service, you decrypt the content, and you redistribute the content without a license. What's new is that with streaming, the redistribution is global. It's not like taking it out of a set-top box from a cable or satellite operator within your geographic territory for that operator. It's now going globally. And so how's it done? There are things like screen scraping, screen casting. It's available on a computer, software programs like Open Broadcaster software. You can get an HDMI splitter, Amazon, $9.99. It removes HDCP. And in the traditional set-top boxes, control word sharing. Or camcording, where the Avengers Endgame was camcorded in a Chinese theater and put online. So who restreams a video? It's professionals looking to profit from the theft of intellectual property. It looks like a legal video service, reliable content quality, quality user interface. Paid services is a norm. Some are advertising supported with a lot of banner ads and pop-ups, but it's generally, it's a payment service. And there are people who are just don't want to pay for content. And so these are some of the services that offer illegal content. So here's a case for watermarking. Watermarking can identify the source of illegally redistributed content and enable a shutdown. ExpressPlay has integrated with 3 watermarking companies, Content Armor, Friend MTS, NextGuard. They all offer watermarking in slightly different ways. They're all good companies, happy to make introductions. And the whole point of watermarking is to protect the content, find it when it leaks, trace it to whoever leaked it, and shut down the source of the leak. That's the point of watermarking. So there are 2 ways a watermarking is implemented. Some consider edge processing to be the third way. I put into the A and B watermarking. So you have A and B watermarking, typically on the server side. And you have client-side watermarking, where the watermarking is stitched together at the app or player for OTT. So in the A and B watermarking, content is profiled during ingestion. 2 versions of the same asset are created, an A version and a B version. Each consumer or end user receives a unique manifest based on a unique session ID, which is implemented by the server. So the server-side switching is performed in a secure facility, which is a plus, limited access. The wall reappears. The negative is that deploying two assets increases storage and bandwidth overhead in thousands of servers. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of services around the globe. Client-side watermarking is actually probably the most popular, prevalent form of watermarking. The watermarking SDK is typically integrated into a set-top box chipset driver layer or set-top box middleware or an OTT player app, and is protected with tamper hardening and white box crypto. Intertrust has tamper hardening and white box crypto called Whitecryption. The pros are there's no head-end processing required, it's codec agnostic, transport agnostic, DRM agnostic, and it can be implemented with a single source of video, no A and B. The con is that the client is accessible by anybody, you know, including bad actors. Just going back to this, in ExpressPlay SDK, we use our white box and tamper hardening to protect the DRM SDK, and that can also be applied to the watermarking SDK. So end-to-end anti-piracy solution with watermarking. The content, either for a video service, a channel, or a content owner, uses a unique fingerprint. A watermark is then overlaid onto video to identify a specific subscriber, device, or player. The services they continuously monitor online video streaming channels using automated fingerprint identification algorithms to identify fingerprint content. Captured content is then compared to a library of reference fingerprints, and then there's a tabulation done. It's in a legitimate channel, fine. If this fingerprinted content is an illegitimate channel, it deserves further investigation. So they look at the watermark to identify subscriber level identification. And depending upon the watermarking service used, some offer the ability to identify the specific device that is redistributing content, and they can shut it down in tens of minutes, which is really important for a sports game because after the game is over and the score is known, no one really cares to see it again often. But that information can also be used to create a forensic evidence package that can be used for subsequent legal action. In summary, the salient points about ExpressPlay, we're a global service that scales for tens of millions of simultaneous viewers. We reduce the cost of implementing your own DRM solution, so we can accelerate time to market. We support all business models. Protected content will play on almost all devices. And there's also future-proofing by offering robust protection for enhanced content protection and watermarking. So thank you very much for your attention. Questions?
Very nice. We all know everything there is to know about protecting our content. If you have one more question, now's the time. We got a few minutes. All right, what if I said we're not going to do the drawing until we get a question? All right, then the hands go up.
So you showed how the SDK can be integrated into clients so that you could be trying to be a little bit agnostic of all the different other DRMs.
Right.
Does that in itself create any sort of security issues? I mean, it's not part of the operating system. It's not an Apple or Google solution. Does it create any other kind of challenges?
Well, it is third-party technology, and that's why we protect the SDK with white box crypto and tamper hardening and the use of integrity checkers and application code. So if that code is tampered with, one of the mechanisms could be to shut down the app. So yeah, I mean, it's an introduction of a new element from, non-Apple or non-Google, but there's a lot of, as you can see on the floor there's a lot of companies who are offering technology to distribute video as well. And it's just a challenge that has been met, I guess.
Okay, thank you again. Good job, Tom.